everyone, my name is Udit. Today I'm going to give 3 tips for cracking the verification engineer interview. These tips apply to pretty much all stages, so the phone screen, the on-site or follow-up rounds, etc. I prepared this because we were beginning to get a lot of inbound on tips for the verification engineer interview process. So if you'd like me to prepare more content on this topic or different topics, please just mention them in the comments below. As a quick introduction, I'm from Prepfully. We are an interview preparation startup that offers mock interviews with someone in your target company or role. So for this video, a lot of verification engineers from Intel, Samsung, Nvidia, Apple, Google, Facebook, pretty much all major companies which hire for hardware roles got together and agreed on these 3 tips as what they look for as hiring managers in their companies. If you're interviewing at any of these companies for these hardware roles, I'd strongly recommend a mock interview with one of these experts, since they're helping a large number of candidates with the same thing, and they can therefore give you really honest feedback on how well you've prepared so far, where the gaps are and what you need to do differently. You can do that by clicking this button. Cool, so let's get to the tips. Tip number 1, when you get questions related to System Verilog and UVM, or pretty much any methodology, VMM, whatever, you don't just have to understand the question asked and answer that. The goal is to demonstrate that you actually understand the structure and fundamentals inside out. These questions often feel really easy to just memorize and spout answers to, but that's rarely enough because your interviewer is always going to ask follow-up questions and what ifs and what about ifs and so on. This is not a nice to have, it's a must have. The basics are absolutely important. And for companies where these rules are super competitive, such as Google for instance, the expectation is that you understand the nooks and crannies, the edge cases, the different possibilities of what you could do, and these fundamentals are exactly what's going to help you come up with an elegant and optimized solution rather than writing hundreds of lines of code. Tip number 2, when it comes to past experience, try to demonstrate your knowledge of what goes under the hood. If you've got any work experience, you'll typically have used a lot of pre-written scripts in these companies. But show that you were curious and think into what actually went into those scripts and don't just rely on them. You can start doing this in very small but pragmatic ways in your day-to-day, even before you start preparing for an interview. Next time, for instance, you isolate an issue as a verification engineer, before asking a designer to debug, for instance, see if you can independently come up with your own hypotheses on what's actually happening. So you learn the craft as a whole. This sort of intellectual curiosity and the knowledge that comes with it is super powerful in interviews, and hiring managers love to see that you take this kind of initiative. Tip number 3, have a methodical approach. Be organized, be super systematic. So for instance, if you're trying to walk through how you diagnose an issue, don't jump topics, don't start flinging out ideas. Start with the basics and walk your way through the problem in a structured way. This demonstrates a level of maturity that interviewers explicitly filter for. Above all though, across all 3 tips, probably the most important thing is to practice. Lots of practice is necessary. You should have all the basics at your fingertips. Practice with friends or colleagues, or practice with one of the verification engineers on Prepfully. You really want to get into the flow of answering questions succinctly, making sure your stories are airtight and communicate the key messages you want them to. And you want to get used to going through sudden twists and turns when interviewers throw unexpected questions at you. So whoever you practice with, be it a friend or someone from Prepfully, make sure to get feedback on these topics. Cool, that's all from me then. As I mentioned earlier, I prioritize videos based on whichever topics are most relevant for you. So if you found this helpful, or if you have requests for other topics, please let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.
Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please subscribe. Our website is prepfully.com. We've got lots of interview questions there. You can also schedule a mock interview with one of our experts. You can find the link in the description below. All the best from us at Prepfully, and we hope you totally rock your interview.